Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Beginner English Speaking TV. I'm Mike. This episode is a 1-hour listening and shadowing practice. It is a long, gentle story about life change, courage, and personal growth. The language is slow, clear, and simple, perfect for beginning-level learners. I want you to just listen and relax. You can listen to it many times. You can repeat the sentences aloud. You can shadow my voice if you like. This is how you train your ears, your mouth, and your brain to think in English naturally. This is not a grammar lesson. It's not a vocabulary list. It's a story. Stories are one of the best ways to improve your English. They help you understand real sentences, real feelings, and real conversations.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah, and I'm so happy to join Mike today. Today, we want to talk about something very important in learning English. It's not grammar, it's not vocabulary, it's not a book or an app, it's motivation. Motivation is the missing piece for many learners. Maybe you start learning, but then you stop after a few days. Maybe you feel bored or you lose energy. Many people think the problem is the material, the book, the app, or the teacher.
Yeah, exactly. But often the real problem is motivation. Motivation is the energy that pushes you forward. Without motivation, learning feels heavy. With motivation, learning feels exciting. We will help you find your motivation, your why.
Your why is your personal reason. External motivation is when the reason comes from outside. For example, maybe you have an exam next month, or your boss says you need better English for your job. This motivation can be strong at the beginning, but it usually doesn't last very long. When the pressure is gone, the reason goes away. Internal motivation comes from your heart, your dreams, your own goals. Maybe you want to travel and talk with people in other countries. Maybe you want to feel proud that you can learn another language. These reasons are yours. Nobody can take them away.
Internal motivation lasts longer. External motivation is like the wind that pushes you when you walk. If the wind stops, you stop too. Internal motivation is like a fire inside your chest. The fire keeps burning all the time. It gives you heat and light. That fire is your why.
Now, let's talk about something really important: how to make English practice part of your everyday life. You don't need to study for hours. You just need a small, simple routine, something you can do even on busy days. That's why we use the 3-step daily practice tool. It's quick, it's powerful, and it only takes 5 minutes a day. 3 steps, that's all. Connect with your reason, imagine your future, and take one small action. Connect with your reason. Every morning, ask yourself, why am I learning English? Answer, say it out loud or write it down. For example, I'm learning English because I want to travel with confidence, or I'm learning English because I want to feel proud of myself. Imagination, visualization. Close your eyes for 1 minute. Imagine your future, speaking English in a restaurant, ordering food without stress, sharing your ideas clearly in a work meeting, or laughing with international friends. Small action. Every day, do one small thing in English. Listen to a short podcast, write 3 sentences, learn one new word, or describe your breakfast in English. Small is strong. 5 minutes every day is better than 2 hours once a week. Small steps, repeated daily, create strength.
Mistakes are part of learning. They are not bad. They help you grow. Mistakes can be teachers. Making mistakes is also a sign of courage and progress. Speaking when you are not sure is brave.
Every mistake is proof that you are strong and special.
Mistakes don't stay forever. They are temporary. Habits build confidence, and confidence builds fluency.
Now that we've talked about daily practice, let's hear a real story. A story about change, courage, and small steps.
Yes, I want to share something personal with you, my own story of growth. Sometimes learning English is not only about grammar or vocabulary. It's also about becoming the kind of person who keeps growing, learning, and trying new things.
Exactly. Mike's story is about starting small, believing in yourself, and saying yes to life, one step at a time.
Here's my story.
My name is Mike. I am 30 years old. I live in a small town near the sea. Every morning I wake up early. I open my window and let the fresh air come in. I like mornings. They feel like a new beginning. Today is special. It is the first day of a new chapter in my life. I have decided to change something. For many years, I lived my life in the same way, going to work, coming home, eating dinner, sleeping, and repeating it all again. It was not bad, but it was not exciting either. I felt like a small boat always moving in circles and never exploring the open sea. I want to grow. I want to learn who I am. I want to become someone stronger, calmer, and kinder. This is why I made a small promise to myself. I will say yes to new experiences from today. I will try one new thing every week. It does not matter if I succeed or fail. What matters is that I try. Growth does not happen in one day. It is built slowly with small steps. The first week, I choose something simple, walking to work instead of taking the bus. It is not a big change, but it feels different from the very first step. As I walk, I start to notice many things that I never saw before. These are small, ordinary moments, but they feel special because I am present. At first, the walk is not easy. My legs start to feel tired. I think about stopping and catching a bus halfway. But then I remember my promise. A quiet voice says, "This is how change begins, one small step at a time." When I reach the office, I feel awake and alive. I decide to do something else that is new. Talk to Anna. She is a colleague I often see in the lunchroom. I was too shy to speak with her before. Today, I decide to try. I smile, walk over, and say, "Hi, Anna. That book looks interesting. What is it about?" She looks up and smiles back. We start talking. Later, I realize something important. Most of my fears were only in my head. They were like shadows. They looked big and scary, but when I faced them, they disappeared. Today, I did two new things. I walked to work, and I spoke to someone new. I learned that change begins with simple choices. Growth is not a race. It is not about doing everything fast. It is a slow walk, one step, then another. One day after a long day at work, I decide to walk home by the sea. I noticed an old man sitting alone on a wooden bench. His eyes are bright, warm, and calm. I feel curious, so I sit down next to him. His name is Samuel. He is 80 years old. He tells me he comes to this bench almost every evening to watch the sea and think. He says, "The sea is my oldest friend." He points at the water and says, "Look at the waves. Sometimes they are calm and soft. Sometimes they are wild and strong. But they always keep moving. Life is the same. It changes with the season." He also says, we grow when we listen to others, to the world, and to ourselves. I realized that I often tried to control everything: my plans, my future, my success. Maybe growth is not always about control. Maybe it is also about trust. That evening, I write in my notebook, "Today I learned to listen. I learned that wisdom often comes quietly." From that day on, I begin to practice listening, not just with my ears, but with my heart. Slowly, I begin to understand myself more deeply. I feel a quiet transformation inside me. Life speaks all the time, in the wind, in the waves, in the people around us, and deep within our own hearts. All we have to do is listen. 2 weeks later, I decide to try something that scares me: public speaking. At work, there is a small team meeting every Friday. Usually, I stay quiet, but this time, I raise my hand and offer to share a short idea. My heart beats fast. My hands are shaking. I remember the promise to step into discomfort to grow. I stand up and speak. When I finish, my manager smiles and says, "That's a great idea, Mike. Let's explore it further." A warm feeling spreads through my chest. I feel proud. Not because the idea was perfect, but because I had the courage to speak. I write in my notebook, "Courage is not the absence of fear. It is doing something even when fear is present." 1 month into my promise, I decide to take a painting class. I imagine that I will be good at it. The reality is different. My first painting is a mess. I feel disappointed. I want to quit. But then I remember, I did not promise to succeed. I promised to try. I keep painting. Failure is not the opposite of growth. It is part of growth. Every mistake teaches me something new. As weeks pass, I notice I am often too hard on myself. I remember Samuel, the old man, told me, "You should not shout at a flower and tell it to grow faster. You should give it water, you should give it sunlight, and you should give it time." I realize I must do the same for myself. Growth takes time. It needs patience, care, and kindness. I write in my notebook, "Being kind to myself is not weakness, it is strength." One weekend, I decide to volunteer at a local community center. We help clean a park and plant flowers. I learned that sharing the journey with people makes it richer and more meaningful. Growth is not a solo journey. It is something we build together. Sometimes growth means letting go. I find an old notebook from 5 years ago with plans I never completed. I realize that it's okay to change. It's okay to outgrow old dreams. I decide to throw away the old notebook. I write, "I let go today. I let go of old dreams. I let go of old fears. I let go of old expectations." 3 months since my first promise, I spend a whole day alone. No phone, no internet, no plans. In that quiet, I start to understand myself more deeply. I think about what truly feels meaningful in my heart. I write in my notebook, "Silence is not empty. It is full of answers." I learned a lesson when I start running. At first, I can only run for 5 minutes. 5 minutes become 10, 10 minutes become 20. Slowly, week by week, I run for an entire hour. It was not magic, it was patience. Patience is not waiting for things to happen. It is trusting that small actions will lead to big change. I decide to start a new habit, writing 3 things I'm grateful for every night. At the community center, I help a young boy named Leo. Watching him change teaches me something powerful. When we grow, we create space for others to grow too. I write, "Growth multiplies when shared. The more I give, the more I grow."
Samuel tells me stories about his life. He says stories are how we make sense of our lives. I realize that my journey is also a story. Not a story of success or perfection, but a story of growth. Seasons change, and so do we. When I started, it was early spring. Now, autumn has arrived. I realize that I too have changed. I'm calmer now. I'm braver. Growth is not always visible. It is often quiet, gentle, and slow. When you look back, you can see how far you have come. I write in my notebook, change is not something to fear. It is a sign that we are alive. As you finish listening to this story, I want to remind you that growth is about trying, step by step, day by day. Don't rush it. Never stop walking.
Now that we've explored growth and personal change, let's take that same idea and bring it into your English learning journey. Because just like Mike's story, progress in language learning doesn't come from one big moment. It comes from small, consistent steps repeated every day.
Exactly. Real fluency is not about speed. It's about showing up, even for a few minutes. Let's look at some powerful techniques you can use to grow your English every single day.
Many people believe success comes from big actions. They think they must study for hours. But that's not true. Real change happens in many small moments. Think about brushing your teeth. You do it for just 2 minutes, but you do it every day. That's why it works. Learning English is the same. Small steps, repeated often, create deep change. 5 minutes of listening, 5 minutes of speaking, 5 minutes of shadowing. When you repeat a small action, your brain changes. It builds a new path, a new road. Small habits are light. They're easy to carry. If you plan for 1 full hour every day, you might quit. But if you plan just 5 minutes, you'll do it. Habit beats talent. You don't need to be the smartest student. You only need to show up every single day. Many people believe success comes from big actions. They think they must study for hours. But that's not true. Real change happens in many small moments. Think about brushing your teeth. You do it for just 2 minutes, but you do it every day. That's why it works. Learning English is the same. Small steps, repeated often, create deep change. 5 minutes of listening, 5 minutes of speaking, 5 minutes of shadowing. When you repeat a small action, your brain changes. It builds a new path, a new road. Small habits are light. They're easy to carry. If you plan for 1 full hour every day, you might quit. But if you plan just 5 minutes, you'll do it. Habit beats talent. You don't need to be the smartest student. You only need to show up every single day.
Now, let's talk about one of the biggest secrets of fluency: thinking in English. Translation slows you down. It makes you pause because you're using the slow, careful system in your brain. But when you start thinking directly in English, you switch to the fast and automatic system. We call this the magic of micro-moments. Use English for 3 seconds, one short sentence at a time. When you see something, a chair, a table, a phone, don't ask yourself, what's that in English? Just think the English word. Do this again and again. Soon, your brain connects English to life directly. No middle step, no translation.
And one of my favorite tools for this is self-talk. Talk to yourself in English. Narrate your actions. I'm making coffee. The water is boiling. I need to find my keys. You can even play both sides of a conversation. Hi, how are you? I'm good, thanks. And you? It might feel funny at first, but it's powerful. You're training your mind to live in English.
Now let's go deeper into two powerful skills, shadowing and listening. Shadowing means listening and speaking at the same time. You copy the rhythm, sound, and melody immediately, without translating or stopping. Why shadowing works? It trains your ear to notice rhythm, stress, and intonation. It trains your mouth, your muscle memory. It kills hesitation because you must keep moving forward. It builds real confidence.
And for listening, here's a rule we love, the 3-listen rule. First, listen for the gist, the big picture. Second, listen for key phrases, short word groups like I woke up early. Third, listen for details, small pieces like I woke up at 7 a.m.
Don't worry about understanding every word. Real listening is not about catching 100%. It's about catching the message, the meaning behind the words. When you train your ears this way, your brain becomes faster, sharper, and more confident. And little by little, English starts to feel like a natural part of who you are.
Now that you've learned how to think in English and practice daily habits, let's take those ideas into real-life situations, because language truly comes alive in conversation, in the small moments of your day.
Exactly. The best way to grow your fluency is to use English in daily life. Describing your morning, talking to a coworker, or chatting with a stranger on the train. Let's start with something simple and real. Talking about your daily routine and making small talk.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike. Today, we'll talk about how to describe your day in English. It's an easy topic, but very powerful, because your day is real, and real things are easier to talk about. Simple morning routine. I usually wake up at 7. I walk to the bathroom and brush my teeth. I wash my face with cold water. After my shower, I dry off and put on my clothes. Then I go to the kitchen and prepare my breakfast. I usually eat something simple: toast, eggs, and fruit. I drink coffee most mornings. Before I leave the house, I check my phone and plan my day.
See? Simple, short sentences, but they describe your real life. When you practice speaking about your day, you build natural fluency without stress. Try recording yourself or shadowing with this example until it feels smooth.
Now let's look at some small talk. The friendly, everyday English that helps you connect with people. Scene 1. At a cafe. Busy morning, isn't it?
Yes, I'm already tired and it's only 8.
Scene 2. On the train. That book looks interesting. What's it about?
It's a mystery. Keeps me guessing.
Do you like reading on trains?
Oh yes, it makes the time go faster.
Scene 3. In the park. Your dog is so cute. What's his name?
Thanks, his name is Max. These are short, friendly conversations, but they build confidence fast. You can use them to start real conversations in English, anywhere, in a cafe, at work, or on your morning walk.
Remember, small talk isn't small. It's a big door to real connection. Every hello, every how are you, every short chat is another step toward fluency.
Now that we've practiced small talk and everyday English, let's step into something a little more refined. Imagine you're no longer at the cafe or on the train. This time, you're dining at a nice restaurant in an English-speaking country.
For many learners, ordering food or booking a table can feel stressful. You might wonder, what if I say the wrong thing? Or what if I don't understand the waiter?
Exactly. But don't worry. In this section, Alistair and Eleanor will show us how to sound confident, polite, and even elegant when dining out.
Do you feel nervous when you go to a restaurant in an English-speaking country? Let's start simple.
A table for two, please.
Do you have a reservation?
Yes, I do. It's under the name Emma. Or, no, we don't.
That's the basic version, perfectly fine for a beginner. But the actual experience of dining out for a proficient speaker is a world away from simply asking for a table and a plate of food.
A basic learner might say, I want to book a table. A C1 level speaker might say, I was hoping to book a table for two for this Friday evening, perhaps around 8?
I was hoping to. That's a wonderfully soft and polite opener. It shows confidence and courtesy.
You can also make it more specific. If at all possible, we'd love a table with a view. Or we were hoping for something a little more intimate, perhaps a quiet nook or a booth if you have one available. Using this kind of language shows you're not just fluent, you're discerning and experienced.
And if you're not completely happy with your table, you can express it politely too. You might say, this is lovely, but I think we'd prefer a table that's a little less conspicuous. Conspicuous means easily seen or attracting attention.
Yes, and if the tables are too close together, a truly proficient speaker uses understatement to stay polite. I wonder if there's a table with a little more separation. We'd hate to impose on our neighbor's conversation. See how gentle that sounds? You've expressed your preference while showing consideration for others. That's what makes English communication sound truly natural and sophisticated.
Beautiful examples. Notice how every phrase is warm, polite, and flexible. You can use these expressions anywhere from a casual cafe to a 5-star restaurant.
The secret is to move from function to feeling, not just asking for food, but creating a pleasant experience in English.
Now we move from conversations to stories. Real, living English in context. Listening to a full story helps you feel the rhythm of the language, the emotion behind the words, and the movement of time.
That's right. When we listen to stories, we don't just learn grammar or vocabulary, we travel. We can go to the past, imagine a different world, and experience life through English.
In this section, we'll hear short stories and dialogues that use different tenses, starting with the past tense. Let's begin with Mike, who takes us on a journey back in time, to a day long ago.
I woke up early in the morning. It was the year 1900. There was no phone beside my bed. I washed my face with cold water. There was no bathroom, no sink, no hot shower. I wore a simple white shirt. On my feet, I wore heavy boots. I went into the kitchen. There was no fridge. There was no electric light. On the table, there was bread, butter, and a jug of milk. My father ate quietly. I walked. I always walked. The factory was at the edge of the town. Inside, the machines were loud. The air was thick. It was difficult to breathe. I carried boxes and moved heavy pieces of wood. It was hard work. My back hurt, but I continued because I had no choice. When the bell rang, we stopped. I walked home slowly. When I arrived, the house looked warm. Dinner was simple: soup, bread, and some vegetables. We talked. We told stories. The candle gave us light. I closed my eyes. It was not an easy life, but it was a real life. A day in the past.